So this video is round 4 of the Dmax Sprint League Championship at Daytona Sandown Park. I'd previously done a few championships in the Sodi karts at Daytona Sandown, the 390cc Sodis. And Daytona actually got a new fleet, but they replaced them with 270cc, which is a little bit less powerful than I was used to. And whilst that technically makes me the last ever heavyweight champion in the old 390cc karts, the 270cc, obviously because we were used to more power, they just weren't quite as fun. So when I saw that Daytona Sandown had kind of mixed things up a bit for this season, and they'd announced some new championships, including a more affordable Sprint League championship in their most powerful karts, the two-stroke Dmaxes, I was really excited to sign up for that and try and learn a new kart. Because I hadn't really done much driving in Dmaxes. I'd only driven them a handful of times, and they handle very, very differently to the Sodis. Smoothness is much less important, and it's kind of much more about momentum. A lot of drivers describe the Sodis as being very understeery, but of course that's what I was used to. So for me, the Dmax always feel extremely oversteery. So yeah, Dmax are very alien to me, or were very alien to me, and it's kind of odd being on a track that you know so well, or you feel like you know so well, but of course it's completely different in the different karts. So yeah, it's a really strange feeling. So I turned up to round 1 of the championship a couple of months ago without high expectations, or without any expectations really. I kind of expected to be more to the back as I got used to the karts. But round 1 initially started really well for me. I was really chuffed and surprised to qualify second, just behind Simon Fuller, who's a very quick heavyweight Dmax driver. And as it was sort of cold and frosty, less grippy conditions, we were actually first and second out of the entire fleet, not just the heavyweights. We beat all the lightweights as well. So it seemed like a really, really great start. Unfortunately, I was way too conservative at the start, trying to be careful, and still not fully comfortable in the karts, and I lost loads of places at the start, lost about 4 places. And I went out wide at one of the opening corners, hit a patch of ice, and was spun round to last. So I ended up finishing quite near the back in that first round, which was frustrating, because after the qualifying, where albeit I'd done that lap by sort of copying other people's lines, but I felt like the pace was there, so it was very frustrating to be right at the back. Round 2 went a lot better. I was second. That's the podium from round 2. And that's kind of been the story of the championship so far, with the man in the middle, Simon Fuller, who has absolutely dominated the heavyweights. He's won all 3 races in the heavyweight category, and he's also got pole positions. You get an extra point for the pole as well. So he's got pole at all 3 rounds as well. So at this point, I was after 3 rounds, I was actually second in the championship, but Simon had an enormous 21-point lead. However, due to some other commitments, he actually couldn't make round 4 of the championship. Now, the rules for the championship state that you can actually drop a round, so it wouldn't affect his championship, as only your 5 best rounds of 6 actually count. But one thing I knew Simon's absence definitely would do is give me a golden opportunity to win a round of the heavyweight category. Another fast heavyweight called Rupert Rixon had actually beaten me to second place at the previous round 3 of the championship. But I'd beaten him in round 1, so I felt that I really did feel if I drove to my best, then I definitely had a chance of winning the heavyweight category for round 4, and that was the target I'd set myself. Unfortunately, I was immediately beset by some technical problems in the qualifying, as you're about to see.
That does not sound right.
Yeah, so I was kind of a little bit worried at this point. I didn't feel that was the greatest omen. But the marshal there, Nick Fallon, had come over. He's a very good go-kart in his own right, actually, a champion go-karter as well. But he had come over and helped get my seat sorted, all my pedals sorted and everything, and then the kart wouldn't start. So they had to change me into a different kart, which I also had some issues with. It seemed to keep stalling, so I wasn't sort of too sure about it. And you'll see... as I actually emerged from the pits. It stalled in the pits itself, but then as I actually got round to do the first corner, the throttle just seemed a little bit weird. I mean, they were very cold karts; they hadn't been used, but I got around the first corner and it immediately stalled straight away. The engine just cut out completely, and you can actually restart them yourself by pressing the button on the throttle, which I know how to do. But yeah, it just wouldn't restart. So I had to put my hand up. Nick came over again, but then weirdly, just as he arrived, I managed to get it going again. But yeah, I still wasn't happy with the car. Even when I got it going again, it still felt like there was something just not quite right with it. The throttle didn't feel good, and the handling felt bad as well. You're going to see me have a couple of spins. The handling just felt a bit off. Now, I put some of it down. I mean, the handling problems, as I say, I'm not massively familiar with Dmax karts. So I kind of put the handling problems down to, well, maybe it's just because it's a very cold kart, cold engine, cold tyres. So I was just kind of waiting for it to warm up, really. And I waited a long time to swap the kart, because I'm always someone who I'd rather not swap the kart if I possibly can, because by the time you've warmed up your tyres and everything like that takes quite a long time. It takes a number of laps to get your sort of tyres warm and the kart warm and things like that. So I always feel you should never change kart unless you absolutely have to, because by the time you've changed kart and got it warm again, you're going to have lost so much time anyway. Especially in a sprint format such as this, because the qualifying was only 10 minutes, so you don't really have very much time just to set laps. And so I really didn't want to have to go into the pits and have all that, lose a lap trying to change kart and all that sort of thing. And as I was always more familiar with the Sodi kart, so I could always kind of tell, kind of normally pretty much straight away if I had a bad Sodi kart. But because I'm less familiar with the Dmax, it's kind of harder to tell. They always feel a bit hard to handle for me anyway. So yeah, much harder for me to tell if I had a bad kart. But I think I did. You're going to see me even as the kart starts to get a bit warmer. I'm still spinning, and I didn't really feel like I was doing anything, driving anything too differently to how I normally drive. Definitely wasn't trying to brake late or anything like that. But I kept spinning the kart. You can see how busy I am on the steering wheel. I was really having some handling issues. So this is spin number one. Again, I didn't feel like I braked particularly late, so I was very, very surprised to spin there. And that was really kind of giving me the feeling that maybe you need to change this kart, maybe the handling's not quite right. In just a moment, you'll see me be overtaken by one of the lightweights. And Daytona have a sort of strange format for their championships, where they actually have the lightweights and heavyweights on track at the same time. They're the only championship I've done that actually does this. All the other championships I've done, they have the heavyweights and lightweights on track separately in totally separate races. But Daytona's format actually, I thought it was really odd when I first heard about it, but it actually does create a really interesting dynamic, because you're scored by your points are for where your actual overall position on track. The championship standings in terms of weight divisions are completely separate. So you're seeing me spin again there. Again, it didn't feel like I did anything differently. I braked very early, so I was very, very surprised to spin again, which really did feed into the growing sense that maybe my kart wasn't quite right. Yeah, so while the two weight divisions, lightweights and heavyweights, are totally separate in terms of the championship, we are actually on track together, and technically racing for points as well. So the guy that's just passed me there is actually another heavyweight, Stuart Wigton, and he's someone I've driven with many times in the Sodi Championships. I know him very well. He's a good friend of mine. But yeah, it was definitely concerning to see him see the way he flew past me as well. Another heavyweight goes past, because I really felt I was struggling in this kart, and my times at this point were absolutely nowhere. I was dead last out of everyone, all the heavyweights and lightweights. I was completely at the back at this point. I hadn't set anything like a competitive time. So my heart was kind of sinking at this point. I had felt going in, as I said, that this was my best chance potentially to win a round, and it was all sort of felt like it was slipping away. And I was very tempted to change kart this lap. I decided not to. You can see me kind of almost sort of heading towards the pits, but I thought I'd give it just one more lap, just to see if I could feel like I could do a half decent lap. As I said before, I'm always quite reluctant to change karts. But I could see that heavyweight in front of me just flying away on the straights, and I could see I was losing time on the straight. So I thought again, is my kart's power quite there? Obviously, I was struggling with the handling a lot as well. obviously being in the kart, you can't actually see your times or know too much where you are. But Daytona have actually got this great screen that has the sort of top standings. And I could see I wasn't in that, so I knew I hadn't done a great time. So I decided enough was enough. I had to pit and change kart. I had to risk it. I knew there wasn't much time left in the session, but I thought hopefully if I can get a new kart, and it really wasn't much ideal because I'd have to try and get the tyres and everything up to temperature, but in very little time. But I thought it's better risking it because otherwise I'm certain I'm going to be at the back in this kart. So it was better to change kart.
Really too good in the straight?
Yeah, no, the corners, yeah, she was a bit...
Okay. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'll put you behind that one, and I'll jump me into 135, pal.
Yeah, so here I was in the new kart, and I was in the kind of difficult situation really of being in a brand new, completely cold kart with cold tyres and everything, and I had to try and get it up to speed as quickly as possible. I got a glimpse of the timing screen and saw there was only 2 minutes left in the session, so I knew I really didn't have much time at all to do a lap, and I had to try and do a competitive lap to have any chance at all of being in a half decent qualifying position for the race. So at this point, I still hadn't managed to set a competitive time. My best time was down in the 50s. And I was rapidly running out of time. So the current fastest lap out of the heavyweights, the pole position was Robert Rixon with a 48.593. So he had the provisional pole, and I knew this. I was rapidly running out of time. This was the very last lap of the session. So I knew this was a bit of a sort of all or nothing lap. My tyres were still, although they were getting warmer, they were still not quite up to temperature. So the grip wasn't quite there, but I knew I had to do it this lap, or I was going to start really, really far back. So I had done it, pole position out of the heavyweights, and I'd done it by just 7/100ths of a second. So it was incredibly close. I actually had no way of knowing that, because we're not privy to the times. I actually had no way of knowing that I'd just got pole. What was really nice though is that Marcus Simmons, who's a heavyweight Sodi competitor, doing very well in that championship, and he's a good friend of mine, very very fast driver. He was watching the race, and he came up and he actually held up 3 fingers at me to indicate that I was third out of everyone. Obviously some very fast championship lightweights there in the lightweight division. So I correctly concluded at that point that if I was third out of everyone on track, then I had taken pole in the heavyweights, which I was really surprised and pleased about, because I wasn't sure if I had done a good time. So I was really chuffed to be first out of the heavyweights. So the guy in front of me to my right is the pole position lightweight Jack Lugger. In front of me to my left is Billy Raymond, who's currently leading the lightweight championship. Well, I wasn't concerned about either of them because, like I say, the lightweights are a completely separate championship. Although we're all on track together and we're scored for where we finish overall on track, it's 2 separate races, 2 completely separate categories and championships. So the guy I was concerned about was the guy slightly back to my left, which is, just in shot there on the left-hand side, is Rupert Rixon, who's a heavyweight championship rival. So all I was thinking about at this point was getting a good launch once the flag went green, and making sure I was ahead of Rupert heading into the first corner. So yeah, see, the lights went green, and I got a really, really good start. And it was kind of weird for me at this point because I'd actually overtaken the second place lightweight of Billy Raymond. So I was actually in second place out of everyone at the race start. So I just thought, just try and keep it nice and smooth. Again, the other karts were probably warmer than me because I'd had a fairly new kart in qualifying and hadn't had enough laps really to get it up to speed. But what was nice as well was I saw that Billy had kind of got into a little battle with the one of the heavyweights behind him, which had held him up slightly, and obviously was holding up my heavyweight rival, Rupert. So I was able to get a good lead, and I knew that I had a decent lead over the second place heavyweight of Rupert at this point. As I'd obviously just concerned with winning my class, the heavyweight category, and having had a couple of few poor starts in this championship, I hadn't actually ever really thought about or anticipated the possibility that I would get ahead of one of the leading lightweights. So I was very surprised to be ahead of Billy. It was a situation I hadn't thought about, and I thought I'm not, he's a very experienced driver. He'd won the last couple of lightweight rounds, and he was leading the lightweight championship. He's very experienced. He's works part-time at the track. He knows the karts and the track very, very well. And obviously being a lightweight, he has the straight line speed advantage. So I thought if he does catch me up, I'm really not going to put up much of a fight. I don't want to get held up tangling with him and then have Rupert potentially catch me up. I was just concerned about getting this first heavyweight win under my belt. So yeah, I thought there's no point trying to hold up a faster lightweight. And he did very quickly catch me up and did a wonderful overtake, very, very smooth overtake, very nicely done. So he'd done that perfectly in a way that hadn't held either of us up. And I was still very, very content at this point because I was still obviously leading the heavyweight category. What was nice as well was that I looked behind me and saw that Stuart Wigan, the third place heavyweight, had caught up with Rupert and was actually battling him. They were having a sort of back and forth battle. And obviously, as they were doing that, they were holding each other up. So I was able to pull away even more and get an even bigger lead in the heavyweight category. Again, another thing I hadn't been expecting is I thought when Billy caught me, he would just disappear. But actually, I think this kart was a good kart, and I actually found myself able to keep up with Billy, which again that's something I hadn't thought about or expected. So I was kind of in a strange situation where I was able to get close enough to him a couple of times that I could sort of think about making a move, and it was just a case of really whether or not it was worth it. Because as I say, we're in two separate classes, so we're not really racing for position, but you do get points for where you are on track. So if I was to overtake him, I would have got an extra 2 points. But in a lot of ways, I almost kind of didn't feel it was worth it because I was just so happy to be winning my class, and I really didn't want to do anything to jeopardise that first race win. Yeah, I'd have been absolutely kicking myself if I'd attempted an overtake on Billy, and we'd tangled or something like that, and both spun off, and I'd lost out on the heavyweight win. I'd have been absolutely gutted. It just really didn't seem worth it for 2 points. I knew I'd get a very healthy 30 points for where I was on track at the moment, and obviously I got an added point as well. You get an extra point in the standings if you get pole position in your class, which I got as well. So I was very happy with how things were going. Having said that, though, I thought, obviously if I did get like a really obvious opportunity to go for it, I would do. And a few times, you see here, I get into Billy's slipstream, and I think I had a real chance to go down the inside. But I can see he was defending very well, very good at defending. Came across there, and I can see he had no intention of letting me through without a fight. So I just backed out of it. Thought, not worth it. So. Another good thing about being behind Billy like this was that obviously I know that he knows the karts and the tracks so well, and I'm still very new to Dmax. I'm still learning, so it was a great opportunity to sit behind him and to see where I was a bit slow on the corners and use him as a gauge, so I could see where am I quick, where am I a bit slower, and just really learn from the experience and improve a Dmax driver as a result. In terms of the overall heavyweight championship, winning this round is obviously extremely helpful. It would help bring me that little bit closer to Simon. And I'm hoping now that I've sort of got more up to speed in the Dmax that I can give him a bit more of a challenge over the last 2 rounds. But he really has driven absolutely superbly. He's done such a great job. And he's really moved up a level this year, and I think he's potentially going to win a couple of championships. So I'd love to say that for the narrative of this video that Simon's a shadowy, sinister figure that drives everyone off the track and is a ruthless Schumacher type, but unfortunately that's not true at all. He's very fair, always very fair on track, and he's the nicest guy as well. So I think his success is well deserved, and he's going to be going into the Club 100 series this year. So I'm going to be very interested to see how he gets on. Because again, you can see me catch up to Billy and just think about a move down the inside, and just back out of it. As again, he covered it very well. So again, I felt I was closing in on Billy again here. And this is about to be one of my best opportunities to try and overtake him. So we got a little bit untidy there just as we came onto the start-finish straight, and that enabled me to get a better exit from the corner, get in his slipstream, get nice and close to him, and I got right alongside him here, right alongside really, and I kind of felt that was my corner really. I had the inside line. If that had been a heavyweight compared to an actual rival, I would definitely have made that stick. I'd have get that line into the corner, because really when you have the inside line, they're really meant to concede. But I could see, Billy wasn't going to concede, and so that potentially could have caused a collision there. So I did just put my foot on the brake, just backed out of it. I thought again, I don't want to risk it. I don't want to have a collision and risk that heavyweight first place. The actual weight for the weight divisions had actually changed slightly from last season. So the minimum weight this year is that you have to be 70 kilos for the lightweight division, and the minimum weight for the heavyweights is 85. It was 90 last season, which actually suited me down to the ground, because normally fully kitted out I'd come in just over 90 kilos. But they've changed it to 85 this year, which has given me a really good added incentive to lose weight. I mean, my other sport is boxing. And having been unable to train for a point during the pandemic, I put on about 3 stone in weight, so I never was quite able to get back to where I was before the pandemic. So I've been really killing it in the gym, really pushing hard this year to try and get my weight down to a point where I can box again, because I want to box at in the light heavyweight division. So it's helpful in a way that they've moved the division to 85 kilos for this championship, because that's really helped focus me, and I've been really focusing hard on the weight loss this year. I think I weighed in for the first round of this one, I was sort of like 92 kilos something, and the last round I was like fully kitted out, I was around 88 point something, so I have lost weight, I'm continuing to lose weight, and we'll hopefully get it down even more. Because it really does make such a difference in a sport like karting, and every pound counts. It's a very cruel irony that someone like myself with a massive appetite and a really slow metabolism has picked 2 sports where weight really makes such a big difference. But it is what it is. As you can see me getting to Billy's slipstream, and again, yet again think about making that move up the inside, but yet again deciding it's just not worth the risk. I'd actually felt really good coming to the track, because I'd come straight from my gym, my boxing gym, and I'd just done some sparring. I did 3 rounds of sparring, and I felt really sharp and really good. And I sort of thought, I wonder if that will transfer into the race, because I came from on a bit of a high, and I thought it seemed like in boxing I was on form. So I thought, well, hopefully I'll come here and that will transfer to the karting track, and I'll put in another good performance. So you get days like that where you just feel that bit sharper, or things just seem to click a bit more. And that seems to be the case on both the boxing and then obviously with the doing a good performance in the karting. So I was really pleased. So this is the end of the race. I was so chuffed to get my first ever heavyweight win in the Dmax. It's just me quickly congratulating Billy, because I thought he drove very well, defended very well. I felt like I learned so much from that race, and it was definitely the best I've ever driven in the Dmax. Here's my first place trophy. They do very, very handsome trophies at Daytona Sandown. So that was very gratefully received. And actually, the updated heavyweight standings, taking into account that we all drop our weakest rounds. So yeah, delighted to have got my first win under my belt in the championship, and close the gap a little bit to Simon. So yeah, really looking forward to the last 2 rounds, which I think should be very interesting. Thanks for watching.